Okay, so the Gemara is starting with explaining the phrase Tfilat ha'erev en la keva. Tfilat arvit doesn't have a set time. The Gemara asks, "My en la keva." What does en la keva mean? Ilema, if you want to say what we originally thought to say, de'i ba'e, that if he wanted matzle kule laila, that arvit you have all night to pray. Maybe that's the meaning of en la keva. That can't be. Why? Litni tfilat ha'erev kol halayla. Then the Mishnah should not have used the words en la keva. The Mishnah should have used the words kol halayla. Kol halayla would have meant better all night, not en la keva. So obviously en la keva cannot mean kol halayla. So Gemara asks, Ela mai en la keva. What does en la keva mean? If it doesn't mean kol halayla, what does it mean? Keman de amar tfilat arvit reshut. It means that tfilat arvit is elective. It is optional. So we learned that if you have a mitzvah to do and that mitzvah is going to run out of time, if you decide to pray arvit, you push off arvit and you don't push off the mitzvah. So it's elective. The Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Shmuel is the Amorah that brings a machloket. Here we have a machloket between Tanaim. Tfilat arvit, with regards to Tfilat arvit, Rabban Gamliel Omer Chova. Rabban Gamliel says it's obligation. You have to say arvit. It's not a reshut according to Rabban Gamliel. Rabbi Yehoshua Omer reshut. Rabbi Yehoshua argues with Rabban Gamliel and he says that no, Tfilat arvit is elective. It's optional. That's machloket between Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yehoshua, which is going to lead us to the story coming up. Amar Abaye. Abaye says, halacha kedivrei haomer chova. The halacha is like Rabban Gamliel who says it's chova. And Rabba Amar Rabba argues and says, no, halacha kedivrei haomer reshut. He holds like Rabbi Yehoshua, that is reshut. Okay, so here basically we've come to the conclusion that en la keva means reshut, and we have a machloket between Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yehoshua whether or not it's chova or reshut. Now the story. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis learn. Ma'aseh betalmid echad. There was once a story with a student. Sheba lifnei Rabbi Yehoshua, who went in front of Rabbi Yehoshua. Amarle, he told Rabbi Yehoshua, Rabbi, I have a question. Tfilat arvit, reshut or chova? Is tfilat arvit a reshut or is it a obligation? Amarle, he told him, reshut. It's a reshut, like we learned just a few seconds ago. Ba lifnei Rabban Gamliel, he went in front of Rabban Gamliel. Amarle, and he said, Rabbi, I have a question. Tfilat arvit, reshut or chova? Is it reshut or chova? Is it obligation or is it reshut? Reshut or obligation? Amarle, he told him, chova. It's an obligation. Again, like we just learned a few seconds ago. Amarle, the student told Rabban Gamliel, V'halo Rabbi Yehoshua. Amarle, Rabbi Yehoshua just told me a few minutes ago, reshut. He told me it's elective. It's not an obligation. Amarle, he told him, Hamten ad shichnesu ba'alei trisin lebet hamidrash. Wait until the shield bearers enter the bet hamidrash. Who are the shield bearers? The shield bearers are the Talmidei Chachamim. Why are they called shield bearers? Because they protect the Torah. They protect the Torah. They defend it at all costs. The Gemara continues. When the shield bearers entered the Bet Midrash, Amad HaShoel, the same student, the asker, stood up, Vesha'al, and asked, Tfilat arvit reshut or chova? What is the law? Is Tfilat arvit a reshut or is it a chova? Amar le Rabban Gamliel chova. Rabban Gamliel, being the Nasi, stood up and said, it's a chova. Amar lahem Rabban Gamliel chachamim. Rabban Gamliel told the rabbis, Klum yesh adam shecholek badavar zeh. Is there anybody here in this room that argues with me whether that I say that it's chova? Amar le Rabbi Yehoshua, love. Rabbi Yehoshua says, he answered, no, nobody argues. And again, we learned because he didn't want to start a little commotion in front of everybody with the Nasi. So Rabbi Yehoshua said, yeah, nobody, everyone agrees with you, Rabbi. No one's disagreeing, even though really he didn't. Amar le, he told him, really? V'halo mishemecha. But in your name, Amruli, they told me reshut. Some guy just told me that, you're the one who said reshut. So how come you're saying no one argued? Amar le, so Rabban Gamliel told him, Yehoshua, he called him by his first name, Yehoshua, amod al raglecha, stand up on your feet, ve'ya'idu becha, and come testify. Basically, come prove that you never really said reshut. I want to hear in front of everybody. Amad Rabbi Yehoshua raglav, Rabbi Yehoshua stood on his feet, ve'amar, and he said, Ilmale ani chai vehu met, if I was alive and the student was dead, yachol hachai le'achish et hamet. Me being alive, I could deny what the dead guy said because he's dead. Well, you can't disprove me if he's dead. But now that I am alive and he is alive. How can I deny what he said? He's also alive. He's just going to say, no, I was there. He's going to disprove me. So I can't deny what he said, and therefore Rabbi Yehoshua admitted to saying Reshut. Haya Rabban Gamliel Yosef v'doresh. Rabban Gamliel was sitting and giving a lecture, and still Rabbi Yehoshua omed al raglav. Rabbi Yehoshua was still standing there like a punishment. He wasn't allowed to sit down. Ad sheranenu kol ha'am, until the entire people started murmuring amongst themselves. Ve'amru, and they said to Chutzpit haturgeman. Chutzpit was his name. They told to the translator. The job of the translator was to translate the shiur into the modern day language, like a guy that translates a Hebrew shiur into English so that everybody can understand. So he was translating into Aramaic. They told him, Amod, stop translating. Ve'amad, and he stopped. Amrei, they said, Ad kama nitzarei venizil. How long is he going to continue embarrassing him and making him suffer? We're talking about Rabban Gamliel to Rabbi Yehoshua. Berosh Hashanah ishtakad. Last year on Rosh Hashanah, tza'arei. He made him suffer. You remember the story with the Rosh Chodesh. They had different days on when was Rosh Chodesh. And Rabbi Yehoshua was one day later. And therefore Rabbi Yoshua's Yom Kippur was going to fall one day later. And he made him, and he commanded him, you have to walk on your day of Yom Kippur with your money pouch. So and he embarrassed him. Tza'arei. Bifchorot b'maaseh de Rab Tzadok tza'arei. And also in the story with the animal with Rabbi Tzadok. Rabbi Tzadok, although he was a Kohen, he declared his own animal to be blemished. And therefore he was now allowed to partake in the animal. And really, you're not allowed to declare your own animal blemish. You can't do that. You need to bring it to a Kohen. Rabbi Yehoshua said, yeah, but Rabbi Tzadok, he's not only a Kohen, but he's a big Talmid Chacham. He's not going to lie about his own animal. So yeah, he's allowed to declare his own animal blemished. Rabban Gamliel says, no, a rule's a rule. And again, they fought over there and he embarrassed him. Hachanami ta'arei. Now here too, he's going to embarrass him. Can't do that again. So says the Gemara, Tav and Avrei, the people made a meeting and says, let us get rid of him. Let's find somebody else. Let's fire him and put someone in his place. So the people were saying, Man nokim le. Who are we going to put in his place? Nokme le Rabbi Yehoshua. Should we put Rabbi Yehoshua in his place as Nasi? We can't do that. Baal Maasehu. Because he was part of the original story. We learn Rashi that says up here, right? V'hava leile Rabban Gamliel tza'arat fei. If we put Rabbi Yehoshua in his place, it's going to cause Rabban Gamliel to be extremely sad, and we have to feel for him. That's not nice. We can't do that. That's horrible. So we can't put Rabbi Yehoshua, even though he's the best candidate. So the people say, Nukme le Rabbi Akiva. Let's put Rabbi Akiva instead. Rabbi Akiva, he's a huge rabbi. We can put him as Nasi. Gemara says, no. Dilma Anishle, maybe Rabban Gamliel is going to pray for his successor to be punished because he took his job. Okay? And Rabbi Akiva cannot be protected, the late le zechut avot, because he doesn't have zechut avot. He doesn't have merit of his forefathers because Rabbi Akiva's ancestors were not Jewish. So he doesn't have enough protection to protect him from this sin. So what do they decide? Elam nukme le Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Let us establish like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Let's put him as Nasi. We're going to make Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah the leader. Dehu chacham, he is wise. Vehu ashir, he's rich. Vehu asiri le Ezra, and he's 10th generation from Ezra. He's the 10th generation. So the Gemara now explains why do we need these three characteristics to be a Nasi, to be a leader. Hu chacham, to be a chacham is important. Deimak shele mefarikle. Someone asks you a question, you can answer the question. If you're not a chacham, you can't answer people's questions. So you got to be able to answer in order to be a Nasi. Hu ashir, why is it important to be rich? Because if God forbid the Jewish people were being threatened by the Caesar, the Roman Caesar, afu azalu falach, he can go over there and pay him off. He can be rich, use his money to stop the suffering of amongst the Jews. And finally, hu asiri le Ezra, he's 10th generations from Ezra, de'it le zechut avot, because he now has zechut avot, he has protection from his fathers, 10 generations. Velo matzi anishle, and he can't punish him. So they went up to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Atu ve'amrule. They went up to him and they asked him, Nicha le lemar de lehebu reish metifta? Tell me, Rabbi Elazar, would you like to be the Rosh Yeshiva? Would you like to be the head of the school? Amar lehu, he said to him, Ezil ve'imlech be'inshi. Let me go ask ve'anshe beiti. Let me go ask the people of my house, which is his wife. He went to ask his wife. Azal ve'imlich be'debitu. He went to go ask his wife. Amra le, she told to him, and let me just move to the next page. She told to him, Sorry, there we go. Zoom in a couple. She told him, Dilma ma'abirin lecha. Maybe you're going to be fired, just like they fired the last guy. You want to be fired too? Amar la, his response, classic. Lishtamesh inish yoma chada bechasad demukra umachar litvar. Let a person use a very expensive glass one day, even though tomorrow it may break. What does he mean to say? He means to say, if I have the opportunity for this amazing job, who cares if I'm going to get fired? Doesn't matter. I get the chance to use it. I get a chance to have this position at least once, even if it's for one day. It's worth it. So he answered her question about being fired. Amra le, she said to him, Leit lach chivurta. You don't have any white hair, meaning you don't portray yourself as an old person, because you're not an old person. And people respect older people, especially as leaders. A young guy comes in, you're a leader. You expect someone with prestige, with clout, with, oh my God, look at that person. He's a big Talmid Chacham. You don't look it, the wife says. Hahu yoma, that day, bar timnei sarei shanei hava. He was 18 years old. Rabban, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Itrachish le nisa, a miracle happened. Ve'ahadru le timnei sarei darei chiyurta. And 18 white hairs grew on his beard so that he can now display his age. It looked like he was older, and that was a miracle that happened. Ve'hainu deka'ama Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, hare ani keben shivim shana. Velo ben shivim shana. And that's why Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in the Haggadah, so Pesach, we learned this. He says, I am like a 70-year-old. Keben. Why do they say like? That's not the way I am like 31 years old. No one really talks like that. I am like 70 years old, because he really wasn't 70 years old. He was only 18. So why did he say I am like 70 years old? Because this miracle happened with the 18 white gray hairs that made him look like a 70-year-old man, just to give him the appearance to the people around in the Bet Midrash that they would have now more respect for him. And that's why it didn't say Velo ben Shivim Shana, Ela Keben Shivim Shana. So up until here is your test.